Welcome, Sega fans, to the podcast that isn't afraid to get its hands dirty. It's the Sega guys, and we're back for more discussion on that bad boy video game company we know as Sega. In this episode, I'm joined once again by the malevolent Retro Martin, and a big welcome back to MrThunderwing himself, who I'm hoping for this episode will be as villainous as his namesake in this podcast. So, going to you first, Alex. How you doing, mate? It's been a while since you were on the podcast. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks, Dan. Thanks for having me back on. Looking forward to getting my teeth stuck into some Sega Villains chat.
What have you been up to? I mean, always keeping track of the channel, and I saw we'll be talking a bit about the video that you did recently on this sort of topic. But what you've been playing, what you've been up to?
So recently, I've mainly been playing Indiana Jones and the Ground Circle, which I've been playing through Amazon Luma, which was something like I didn't even know you could get. And someone told me about it on a stag do recently, and it's like I can play like current gen PC games on my like 14-year-old PC through the cloud, and like I don't even need to pay for this one game that I actually really wanted to play. So that's been like mind blowing like discovery. But really enjoying it so far, and obviously played the Sega Villains DLC, which was short but good fun. Really enjoyed it for what it was.
Good. Yeah, we'll get onto the Villains DLC shortly. But I didn't know that Amazon Luna was still going. But I'm thinking of Stadia. Stadia was the one that stops, and I think Luna's still going, isn't it? But yeah. So Indiana Jones fairly recent. I wasn't that much of a fan of it because I played it on Xbox Game Pass, but I know a lot of people are. But I got a bit frustrated with it at times.
Yeah, well, I'm sort of. It's kind of quite different with the whole sort of like more of a focus on like melee combat and things like that. But it sort of reminds me quite a bit of Machine Game's previous first-person stuff like Wolfenstein, which I was a big fan of. So, I mean, big Indiana Jones fan anyway, but sort of, with the sort of slightly Wolfenstein-y vibes, I'm really digging that.
Yeah, I did love the reenactment of kind of the opening scene from the first film, and I do love the Wolfenstein games. They're absolutely brilliant fun. Superb games those. So yeah, it's great to have you back, mate. And Martin, I think when this one comes out, you would have been back to back on podcast. I think this will come out just after the the Sonic chat. But it's been a while, isn't it? It's been a while since we recorded that. So how you been?
Yeah, not too bad. Just plodding along, finishing off the games room, which is now complete, and obviously just trying to plug away at doing my own videos, and obviously a bit of Shinobi as well, which is probably a good thing because otherwise I wouldn't be here.
You look like Mr. X sitting in your chair there.
I left my Tommy gun down at the dry cleaner, unfortunately.
You need to do the old hand clicking, summon a ninja from somewhere.
I can do a Sonic, but that's about it.
Well, in his head. Final crash.
Yeah. Funny you mentioned him actually, because I was putting up those Sega dioramas the other day that they had, and I've got him down here somewhere. There we go. So I just holding those to the camera. There.
Oh wow!
Oh, very nice.
Yeah, it was from those little play things they did, where they had the sort of Mega Drive that you could open up and like sort of display it all, sort of thing with the little cartridges or whatever. I was doing all those up with my son, but rather weirdly, they didn't do a Streets of Rage or a Golden Axe one. They sort of went with Street Fighter 2 and some other bits. So like they're little dioramas that close up into a cartridge type thing. So. But
Super Street Fighter 2 is such a go on, Alex.
I'd never heard of those before until a couple of weeks ago, and I randomly just like saw an Ashen's video all about it where he was reviewing them, and it was very funny. But yeah, this sort of thing kind of just like completely passed me by, because I mean that is exactly the sort of thing that I would like to buy, particularly if you got like all the little Sega Villains and stuff like that in there as well.
Yeah, well, the Villains came with the big Mega Drive, which had the Sonic 1 cartridge. So you had Death Adder, Mr. X, the Death Egg Robot, and Mecha Sonic Mark II from Sonic and Knuckles. And then the other dioramas were all their own thing. So you had Altered Beast, which came a bit later, Sonic 2, Sonic 3, and Super Street Fighter 2, which I thought was a bit of an odd choice when you had Shinobi and Streets of Rage right there.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, they're pretty good. My son had been pestering me to make them for quite a while, and I was going to do a video on it. An event I just caved. Like the 7-year-old youthfulness beat me, so we put them all together yesterday, and I think I put a picture up on X yesterday of them all just sort of set out in both closed form and in the diorama form. So
Yeah, they look great. I mean, I keep stumbling across them because I sometimes just scroll through eBay looking for stuff, and I keep thinking, oh, is that a copy of Sonic? Oh no, it's one of these diorama things. But Super Street Fighter 2 is an odd one for them to choose. It's
mm.
quite strict. It's not like it's famous. That version's famous on the Mega Drive, and
Yeah, you'd have thought they'd gone with Champion Edition or something like that, or just
yeah,
Yeah.
something that's not just specific to the Mega Drive, because obviously the Super Nintendo is just as renowned for Street Fighter 2 as the Mega Drive is, in general terms. So yeah, it was a bit of an odd choice. Not that it's a bad thing, like it's a good enough
no,
diorama, but yeah, just could have been something else, shall we say?
yeah. Special Champion Edition maybe is more tied to the Mega Drive because Super
Mm.
is obviously got the SNES game that's exactly port of exactly the same game, which are almost feature complete, although Mega Drive's a lot more complete than the SNES version, but
But
also
all,
has
all
blood or
ports are
not.
complete, but some are more complete than others.
Well, yes, yeah, and has actual blood instead of sweat, and I don't know, all complete endings and stuff like that.
Do you know, weirdly, I always prefer Champion Edition to Super Street Fighter 2 on the
So do
Mega
I.
Drive. I think it's just because it's sort of like more nostalgic, and like Super Street Fighter 2 had like really weird music. There was something about it that was like not right, I think, compared to Special Champion Edition. So even though it had like those extra characters, I just the Champion Edition is always the one which I prefer generally.
No, I agree. I think Champion Edition is a much better game on the Mega Drive. I think the balance is better. I think the gameplay, the speed's there. The music is definitely better in Special Champion Edition. It's a much better arrangement, and I think it's because it's actually closer to kind of the CPS1 original because they do share certain. The Yamaha sound chips are fairly similar, albeit obviously there's a lot more channels in the Capcom arcade board, but the Mega Drive can kind of ape the instrumentation a bit, whereas in Super, it's trying to do what the CPS2 does, and it just sounds pants, quite frankly, I
Yeah.
think. But so anyway, moving on to the first of the topics at hand. So the Shinobi Villains DLC obviously dropped a few weeks ago now, or at least by the time that this video goes out. I actually had to buy it because I had a review copy of Art of Vengeance, which said it was a deluxe edition, but didn't give me the Villains DLC. So I quickly bought that and burnt through it as quickly as I could. But and absolutely loved it. But Alex, we'll come to you first because you actually did a great video on this,
Thank you.
which anyone watching right now should definitely check out. But let us know what you thought about the Villains DLC. Kind of sum up a little bit of the video that you did.
So with the Villains DLC, I sort of had slightly mixed feelings on it because um, originally I thought it was literally just going to be the bosses without like anything else. So when they said that they were going to add some extra stages in as well, I thought, oh, brilliant! Like, it'd be good to get some like stages based on those games. But then when the DLC actually released, the stages were a bit disappointing. They felt a bit generic, and it seemed almost like they could have just been taken directly from the Anko riffs already, with just like a tiny bit of extra background detail in. Whereas I was hoping it would be much more specific to the games. You'd get like some enemy types from the games themselves. So that was a little bit disappointing. But, as it was a bonus that I wasn't expecting to get at all, I thought, well, I don't want to seem like I'm looking a gift horse in the mouth sort of thing. But the actual villains themselves are great. I thought Death Adder was brilliant. I love the fact he looked just like the Revenge of Death Adder version from the game. And I'm not so familiar with the Yakuza stuff, but I thought, was it Koji's character's name? I can't remember now.
Goro Majima.
Goro. He was like, really well done. And obviously, Dr. Robotnik, really good at the end. And I thought the music that T. Lopes did for all the stages was good. Although, again, the Golden Axe one, I kind of really hoped there'd be some actual Golden Axe music in there. So I thought, again, the music for that was a teeny bit generic, but, it was not bad music in itself. But, really, really enjoyed all the other stuff. And, more Shinobi's never going to be a bad thing, really.
Yeah, let's hope that we do get some more Shinobi because I don't know how well it performed in terms of Sega's expectations, but there's certainly a lot of goodwill about it. But I'd love another, I'd love another Lizard Cube Shinobi or more DLC for this. Give us Villains
Yeah.
DLC Part 2. I mean, hopefully Sega or Lizard Cube will listen to us now. We'll give them a few ideas for villains later on. But yeah, when I watched the video, I was kind of agreeing with everything you pretty much said, because I felt very much the same around kind of the stages and the villains themselves. But I mean, Martin, you burnt through it pretty quickly as well. I remember you posting that you were. I felt like I was racing you at one point to get through it. But yeah, what did you think of the villains DLC?
Yeah, so I'm pretty much very similar to Alex in that I think there was a bit of missed opportunity, but all round it was pretty good. I think my problem was I did it the wrong order, so I chose to go with Majima first because as much as I love the Yakuza series and Majima is my favorite character, Golden Axe means a hell of a lot more to me in terms of nostalgia. So I thought I'll start with least favorite, for lack of a better term, and then I'll work my way around. And the problem with Majima's stage is it's just modern buildings, which is stuff you saw from the main game. So it looked to me like it was just recycled stuff from the main game. So I remember my early thoughts on it were the levels and whatever. I'm not really all that fussed on them. The enemies were pretty much the same as they were in the main game, and until you get to the end of the of Majima's stage and you actually get a couple of background elements that you recognize from the Yakuza game specifically, and then it's like, oh right, okay, could have done with a bit more of that, and it would have been a little bit nicer. And then when you actually get to Majima himself, it's a lot nicer of a boss. And then from there, I went to Death Adder, and I had a bit of a nicer time with the level on that one because it wasn't quite so overcrowded with the arena fights, and there was a little bit more platforming, which I enjoyed. But yeah, they're definitely, I think, great all round. I love the actual boss fights, but I think the stages could have been a little bit more added to them, as well as the sort of enemies as well. And they did miss a trick by not making Death Adder look like that.
Oh, nice.
That's the Deathbringer, isn't it?
It's one or the other. They're all the same. It's just a reskin.
So, Dan, as you had to purchase the DLC separately, how much did that cost? Because I got the digital one, so I never actually saw what the individual price was. So I'm kind of curious how much it was just on its own.
It was only £8.99. It's like you say in your video. It's like the price of a beer in London these days. So I got 3 hours playtime out of it, pretty much.
Yeah.
Like pretty much an hour to get through each set. Well, there's 5 stages, 5 levels, isn't there? You get 2 for Majima, 2 for Death Adder, and then you get 1 for Green Hill. And then the three boss fight or 4 boss fights took me about 3 hours in total. So for £9, I don't think it's too. I don't think it's too bad. I agree with you both on the stage design because the Golden Axe one felt really kind of generic all the way through, especially because I don't know if they were going for, because in Sonic All Stars Racing Transformed there's that Golden Axe track, isn't there? And
Yeah.
that's mostly just kind of lava. But I was just thinking, right, but Golden Axe isn't just lava all the time. There's more to it than put pits of lava and stuff. So I was a bit disappointed. It gets better towards the end when you can see kind of Total Village in the background.
Yeah. But I
But
think they could have referenced like the sort of like the villages and stuff like that you've got in Golden Axe, and you've got like the kind of village that's on the back of the eagle as well, and all the castles and stuff like that. I mean, I suppose technically you've got like a castle in the bit where you actually fight Death Adder, but yeah, it just felt like they could have done more with it. And because of the fact they sort of hand draw all the sort of frames of animation, I mean, I don't know if maybe trying to fit some like specific Golden Axe enemies and some Yakuza enemies in there would have been like a hell of a lot of work. But I mean, you think, well, could they have not just like reskinned some of the other enemy types just so, even if they don't attack particularly differently, for you, it sort of seems a bit more like, oh, it's like a Golden Axe villain, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I'd like to think that they could have done that, just kind of paint over the top of existing designs, because they did have new enemies in there. Like you said, Martin, they've got new enemies in there that are kind of remixes of existing enemies. And they're just a little bit tougher. But yeah, if you're going to make new enemies, you should maybe made them specific. I don't know if it was because it's all framed as all Lord Ruse with the Death Scythe has opened all these portals, so it's his
Yeah,
minions in there. But yeah, it felt a bit cheap, and it's the same with the um kind of the Majima one, because that felt like, I can't remember what the stage is called in the main game now, but it's the one where you're all in the city and you've got kind of the Saturn and Dreamcast and Sega kind of neon lights everywhere. It kind of felt like, oh, let's take that and smash it up a bit and then put a
yeah,
Yakuza street
That's how
sign
it
in
felt
there.
to me, yeah, completely. It just felt like it was taken from the main game. I mean, would it have
yeah,
really killed them to make those little, blobby lizard enemies turn into chicken legs or something like that and attack you the same
yeah,
way?
exactly.
Probably not.
I think it's
Yeah,
called there was Neo City, wasn't it? The one in the main
Yeah,
game. Where,
that's it.
yeah,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
yeah,
It had all the Master System references, didn't it, as well, with the rescuing the little
the
kid
hostage.
Shinobi.
did
Yeah,
yeah, oh, that's so
yeah,
good.
That was great stuff. That was.
yeah. And like you said, Dan, for I mean, 8.99. I think there's a good amount of content there. So for anyone that hasn't bought the main game and they're sort of like a bit on the fence, I think it's a nice addition to that. But the main game had so much fun with, like, when I went through that. So I think it is a very, very nice addition to it. So definitely I would recommend it, despite the fact I probably sounded like I was being a bit lukewarm to it in my review. But I did enjoy it. Thought it was good fun.
Yeah, yeah, and it sounds like, I think it's probably sounds like we're being a bit mean to it right now, but I mean that's just the stage. I mean, the bosses, I thought the bosses were phenomenal. I thought Majima was really well done. With he's got all his kind of trademark moves, his knife throwing, he's got his whatever his multi-form thing is, but that's he's got that from the first game all the way to the Pirate Yakuza game. Um, I think
They
Death
did
Adder
miss
was
a trick though with Majima, in my opinion, because they could have turned around and just had the voice actor just be like, "Ooh, Musashi good," like that or something like that, like, riffing off him completely. But it was just sort of generically voiced,
yeah.
but apart from that, like yeah, as you said, the boss fight was absolutely fantastic. Like it was learnable, but it still took you a little while to get used to it, especially when he did the sort of 360 knife.
Oh,
Up.
that
Yeah.
That was
got
an
me every
absolute
time.
ball.
Yeah,
And
I dodged a few of them, but one of them would always get me at least.
I was quite surprised as well how tough the bosses were, because
Mm.
when we chatted about this on X, like, I mean, I've been stuck on Death Adder for ages, and then I think you actually found Majima a bit harder, didn't you, Dan? So
I did, yeah.
it's funny because I found him a little bit easier, but I think that's because I've just been stuck on Death Adder for so long, and I was a bit rusty at the game anyway. So it was like having to, like, remind myself, like, how does this particular attack work? And then as soon as I realised you could sort of like somersault through that, like, big, like, weird triangle attack he had that, like, came out, and then that
Yeah.
was like the best chance to get in there and, like, kind of really wail on him. That kind of definitely made a big difference. But, like, I think if anyone went straight into those bosses without playing the main game, they'd find it so hard without, like, all the extra kunai knives you can get, and, like, the life enhancements and extra magics and stuff, and the dark katana, which was, like, so difficult to get, like, through doing the riffs. It feels like it's pretty useless, really. It doesn't, like, make much difference at all.
Yeah, I
Extra
was I
millimeter
was
of damage
thinking.
to hit.
Yeah, I was thinking, because I thought when I was playing it, I was thinking, like, if I'm not doing that much damage with the Dark Katana, like, how much is he going to do? Because I think I said in our video, recommend that you play the full game first and probably, unlock all the secrets, because you'll need them.
Yeah.
Um, because yeah, if that Dark Katana, if there is a damage boost on it, then I think it must be much needed for those bosses. Like Death Adder, I thought it was an amazing fight, but he is a sponge.
Yeah.
It's a war of attrition with him, and then Margin was pretty ruthless.
Did
And
you
then
try the snake Nimpo, the one that does the really massive damage? If you, because I didn't actually get around to trying them because I'm useless at aiming it.
Uh,
But
yeah, I used it on Majima, but it was by mistake, actually. I was trying to do something else, and it just happened to get him as he was, like, running across the stage. And, like, I tried to do it on Death Adder a couple of times, but it's got such a long sort of, like, wind up animation before it actually does the thing, that, like, I just found every time Death Adder would, like, hit me and knock me out of it. So I just lose that gauge of, like, the Nimpo magic, and then it was like, oh well, that was a waste of time then. But if you can time it just right and, like, hit someone with it, it takes off tons and tons of damage. But it's just the fact that it's got that, like, really, really long, like, wind up as you're sort of trying to do it.
yeah, I think I used it against Marjima. Um, um, But the one I definitely used it for was for the main game, Lord Roos. In
Yes.
second form, he had one thing, and he charges up, and I was like, right, I'm gonna fucking have you.
Yeah, I must have
Nailed
gone
him with
hard
it.
mode. I couldn't be bothered with the info too much. So,
It was quite useful on Mandara as well. So,
mm,
which was like the boss from the original Shinobi, that like kind of
Yeah,
weird face, and you got like the spinning like I think they're like kind of Buddha doll sort of things.
yeah,
But if you can sort of like get him with that snake when he's like charging up like one of his electrical attacks, again, it does like masses of damage. But like you've kind of got to be like in the right place for it to sort of like get your timing just right.
mm.
yeah. Oh, I could talk about that main game for ages. It's absolutely superb, I think. But I think probably the last thing I was going to touch on the main game was: did you both play through it not knowing about the final boss? Because when I first saw the trailers and everything, I was like, "Oh wow, Death Adder looks amazing, Margima looks amazing, Doctor Robotnik." You know, I wish he was piloting something a little bit more epic than just his little normal buggy from the like as iconic and nostalgic as it is. Surely he's got something better. And yeah, did you go in? Did you know? Did you go in kind of? It's got to be something better and then get surprised, or did you know about what the final boss was before you went in?
Didn't know
Uh,
at all.
No, I went in fairly blind, so I hadn't even really watched any of the trailers for the DLC other than like just a bit of one because I thought I want to try and go in as like unspoiled as possible. So I had seen the bit with like the classic Eggman form on Green Hill Zone, but yeah, so that like extra boss in Chemical Plant Zone, which I found out from
That's it. Yeah.
Martin, that was what it was called. I thought yeah, it's pretty good and really excellent music on that boss as well. I really enjoyed it.
Mhm. I liked how it was foot shaped like a samurai as well,
Yeah.
like with the old Kabuto helmet look to it.
Yeah,
So that was a nice little thing. And there was a lot going on in that fight, but when you sort of boiled it down, it's actually probably the easiest boss going
yeah.
out of all of them. Because when I went and did it the second time, because I forgot to do the execution on him, and I thought, well, I want to do the execution on all of them at least once. So I went back and did it in arcade mode, and I absolutely slaughtered it the second time. I thought, oh right, okay.
And I think I either read or saw somewhere someone suggesting that final boss has actually got a slight reference to Lobster, who was the samurai boss from the original Shinobi on stage 4. Like the colouring and design actually looks sort of quite similar. And I didn't pick up on that when I was first playing it. It wasn't until I saw someone else, and I was like, oh yeah, I can see it now. Like yeah, it definitely looks like there's a bit of a sort of homage going on there.
Yeah, I saw that as well, and I thought, yeah, I didn't catch it first time around, but then when I looked, I thought, yeah, no, that's right, the red samurai. Obviously, he's not holding a katana or anything; he's just trying to slap you and uh, fire rockets and all sorts of everything at you. I thought it was an epic fight, to be honest.
Yeah.
It was just there was a lot going on at times, but it was all quite manageable. Whereas I thought, yeah, I probably think that Death Adder or Majima were harder. Death Adder, I thought once I figured out, it's kind of similar to you, Alex. Once I figured out you could roll between those electric beams, it was like roll in 1, 2, 3, roll out, roll back in 1, 2, 3, and then he
Yeah.
does his stupid second phase where he does the ones that you can barely escape. But
Yeah.
I think the one that kept getting me was when he fires from his shield, and I didn't know how to stay airborne above it. So once I figured that out, I could beat him. I try and do the boss rush, and I can beat him every time now. But then I can't beat him easily enough that I can. I've got more than half a life bar when I fight Margima, and Margima just annihilates me.
See, I
I
got used to the shield laser quite early on because obviously you can do the double jump and the dash to get slightly over it or whatever. But because I started abusing in the main game the downward kick and then the spiral cut afterwards attack, you can also use that to stay in the air a little bit longer and get hits on him at the same time and stay off the laser. So it's helping you get past him quicker and avoiding the laser.
I tried doing that, but I just couldn't seem to quite get the timing right to still just stay above the laser. But
Mm.
I'd completely forgotten because it had been a while since I'd played the main game that Joe's got that sort of like gliding move where he gets his like big
Mm.
blanket thing out and probably like a proper name for it.
Gets his blanket out.
Like
So
Christopher Robin.
so initially I was like, how the hell do you avoid getting hit by this thing? Because it's just like you can't stay in the air long enough. And as soon as like I had to like just have a quick look at a YouTube video, it's like, oh, of course, completely forgot about that glide thing. And like I've forgotten about that on like one of the other stages as well, where there's like a bit where you've got to get the currents to go over it. And I kept dying on this jump. And I was like, how the fuck do you do it? And it's like, oh god, so stupid. It's like ability that you gained like ages ago.
Oh God, no, I can relate to that. When I was when I was preparing for it, I thought, right, it's out in a couple of days. I'm going to load the game up again and start replaying it to try and remember stuff. And obviously, I just replayed the kind of the intro. But then when it started giving me kind of, when you grapple onto the hooks to propel yourself, and I know I was just like, oh God, how do I do this?
Yeah. And it's like the little extra like wall climb he does when you're on the wall. That's like, how do you do that again? Like just trying to like get my brain working again.
Oh, we should have known about that because I think we all on that last kind of that last like mini dungeon with all the blades where you have to get that last item.
Oh no! You just give me PTSD for that.
I remember I died so many times by climbing up to the thing too. So I was like, no, stop climbing, you asshole.
Yeah.
Like
That's not what I said to do.
Thinking about it.
What's that?
Got PTSD now, just like thinking about it. That was a good couple of hours.
Just there rocking in the corner. The flames.
The flames, the saws.
Well, that sense though, like when you finally did it, and it was like, yes, I can die happy now.
Oh no! It's worse than that. I did it and fell.
Oh no!
I had to do it again. I was like,
oh no!
I think that would have made me.
I was ready to throw my controller out the window.
And your reward for doing it is you get an extra hard boss.
Yeah.
Yay!
So one of the things that I did see in the DLC trailer, although I was sort of trying not to like look at too much of the promotional footage, was when you saw that Eggman boss on that recreation of Green Hill Zone. I thought there was going to be like an entire stage of that when they said about like we're adding some extra stages in. So that was a bit of a disappointment that we didn't have like a full Green Hill Zone stage, because I mean I thought that recreation they did of it looked really, really nice. That would have been really cool.
Well, even if they'd had like a screen of all 6 of the stages from the original, so you've got the loop de loop from Green Hill, then you go to like I don't know, a lava pit from Marble Zone, and just at least 6 short screens of that, like with maybe a couple of enemies, some platforming or whatever, and then Dr. Robotnik would have been ace. But yeah, they love the Green Hill Zone.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a shame that's probably the worst opening stage. It's worst stage as well because you get nothing of the Green Hill Zone until you get to the boss. It's all just basically just another Anku Rift, basically.
Yeah, and like even less going on in that one than there was in like the Golden Axe and the Yakuza ones.
Yeah, but I was thinking, do you know what? I'd love a Lizard Cube Sonic game that looks like this all the time. But judging by the detail that was in that background, it'd probably take them like decades to animate it and draw it by the looks of things.
Well, I'd love like a Lizard Cube Golden Axe game done in the style of Streets of Rage 4. The 2D graphics, keeping like the base gameplay intact, but they sort of like just like add a few extra bits in, like bring in like all the characters from like all the other Golden Axe games, like they did in Streets of Rage 4. I think that'd be immense.
Yeah,
well, that's what I was going to mention earlier when you were talking about the lava stage in the Golden Axe bit. That to me reminded me more of Golden Axe 2 because you've got that volcano pit level in that. So at least it is sort of somewhat Golden Axe related, even if it wasn't the first game specifically.
Yeah. I think, as I said earlier, I think it's not so much that I think lava's got its place, but it's just like it was in Transformed. It's just like again. It's got more than lava in Golden Axe. There's total villages and cities with cities on eagles' backs, and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah,
they could have looked at Sonic Racing Crossworlds for inspiration. Oh wait, no, they couldn't because they don't do enough Sega in that.
I got Mega Man now though. Is it Mega Man? Is it Mega Man the latest one?
Yeah, it is. Yeah,
it is.
Oh no, sorry, Angry Birds got released a couple of days ago, didn't it?
Joy, even better.
Yeah,
at least it's got that SpongeBob SquarePants shite and whatever stuff that like you could not give.
I'll take SpongeBob over Minecraft any day of the week.
The thing is, my kids are the target audience for all that sort of stuff. So that, oh wow, when the Minecraft and SpongeBob stuff came, that's when the game was getting played the most, ironically, because they all wanted to play it. And now it's like, who's Mega Man? But anyway, so we'll move on to the kind of the next part then, and that was kind of, I was thinking, we've got three villains in this DLC. Let's talk about some good old Sega villainy, and we'll go around and think about who are our favorite Sega villains. So yeah, we'll start off with Red the Angry Bird. We'll go move on to SpongeBob and Squidward and all that sort of stuff. Now we'll go around and we'll just kind of each pick a villain, and we'll discuss them for a bit, and then move on to the next. So we'll start with you, Alex. Go on to you, Martin, and back to me, and we'll go around probably a few times. So obviously we've talked about three villains in the Shinobi DLC, Alex, but what villain would you like to discuss first?
Well, so I think my most iconic Sega villain is actually one from the DLC, and that is the main villain from this game here,
Death
and
Adder.
Death Adder. And I think it's because of the fact when I first saw Golden Axe in the arcade, it was like one of those games where it actually gave the heroes a little bit of backstory. So during the attract mode, you got those like little vignette things with them where it said Gilius Thunderhead, his brother had been killed by Death Adder, Taurus Flares, I think both her parents had been killed by Death Adder, and it was Axe Battler's mother. So, they all had a bit of beef, which was like a bit of backstory you didn't normally get in an arcade game. And then also it had like a picture of him as well. So before you'd even got to the boss, there's this like really imposing, like big muscular guy that looks like he's come straight out of a Conan film or something like that.
Hmm.
So it was like, oh, this like sounds really interesting. I want to find out more about this. And in the arcade, we never ever had enough 10p's to like get all the way to the end. But I did see a few other people doing it, so it was like, wow, that's like who this guy is. But then weirdly, kind of when it came out on the Mega Drive, they sort of undermined him a bit by then sort of like making him just like some lieutenant who's actually taking orders from Deathbringer, who Martin's figure was earlier with the the green skin and the purple armor and everything like that. But yeah, it's like the first kind of real villain in a game that it's like, oh, intriguing. I want to find out more about this guy. So I think he was a really good pick by Lizard Cube because immediately got like older Sega fan like me sort of interested in it. And I think Martin, you were saying you sort of got a lot of history of Golden Axe as well from that point of view. Has Death Adder had a similar impact on you there?
Yeah, no, absolutely. It was one of the earlier ones that I remember playing on the Mega Drive. I didn't really get to play the arcade versions, but I did get to play quite a fair bit of the Mega Drive one. So that's the one I'm used to. And so it was a game I actually got really, really good at. And yeah, no, certainly a very iconic villain because there's not really anyone else that looks like him. I mean, it's Conan through and through. It's like big bulging muscles and a little bit of armor or whatever. And,
Yeah.
but yeah, no, it was definitely a very good choice. I mean, I was very happy when they did Majima, and obviously, of course, they were going to do Robotnik. But then when obviously they revealed Death Adder, that was the
Yeah.
moment for me for definite out of the three. That was the one that I was really happy got included.
Yeah, he was the one that I was most pleased to see as well. And it probably is my favorite fight out of the DLC is that
Yeah.
one because he felt like he delivered on everything about him. He had that aura about him. He was just a tough bastard. And the thing about Death Adder is I think the Mega Drive does him dirty. Like you were saying, he was working for someone else. He was taking orders from behind that door, and it's just like, okay, which is a nice bit of extra content for the Mega Drive. But you've got hit. Then you don't really get it. Does he get a death sequence in the Mega Drive? I don't think he does. It's Deathbringer that gets the axe that spins around and lands in his chest at the end, isn't it? So you just kind of beat him. And that's it. He's gone, and then you get Dark Gold in Golden Axe 2. And then he's basically a Death Adder lookalike in Golden Axe 3. I can't remember what the villain's name is in that, but you just don't see Death Adder again. Whereas in
Yeah.
the arcade, he's just a bastard in the arcade. It's like you're saying, he killed he killed their friends, families, mothers, everyone. You just keep seeing who's this Death Adder.
There was a guy right at the start as well who, like, when you were playing in the arcade, like gets like whipped by the bad guy, and he's called Alex. So
It is, yeah,
I
exactly.
was like, oh, right, that guy. Oh, he's dead.
At
Yeah.
least he's not booted in the backside like that guy from House of the Dead too.
But you're like, who's this Death Adder prick? And yeah, he's he's
Yeah.
he's obviously the big bad in that game. And then obviously the arcade sequel is the Revenge of Death Adder. So obviously he comes back, and
So
that
gutted that we never got a Saturn port of that. Like, I would have much preferred a port of that than Golden Axe: The Duel. And like I had one of those 4-player adapters for my Saturn at the time. So like if they'd made that proper like 4-player like Saturn version of Revenge of Death Adder, I'd have been all over that.
Yeah, likewise. Because I remember seeing it in the arcade as well, and I thought it looked amazing. I can't remember where I was, but it was on a giant screen. It was like on a massive rear projection screen. Like the arcade machine was huge, and it was the proper 4-player one. I think it was in like, Hemel Hempstead or something. And I was like, "Oh, this is amazing! I can't wait to." I thought, "Can't wait to play this at home." I think it was. I would have only had a Mega Drive then, but it would have been perfect for the Saturn. But such a shame. But ironically, like there's the Mega Drive trilogy of games, and the arcade also has kind of a trilogy
Yeah,
because Golden Axe: The Duel does narratively follow on from the Revenge of Death Adder. I mean, Revenge of Death Adder, that battle with him at the end of that is absolutely superb. Where you fight him on top of the castle, and then all of a sudden he's still alive, and you're fighting him on top of the
the dragon.
yeah,
Yeah,
and then oh well, spoiler alert for anyone that hasn't played it. But if anyone hasn't played it, they should play it. It's not all about the ending, but obviously Gilius sacrifices himself, and they basically fly off the top and crash into the castle below, don't they? But then he somehow survives or comes back, and his
like
his
Somehow, Death Adder returned.
and you got his stage is awesome. It actually kind of looks like it does when you fight him in the first phase in Revenge of the Death Adder, which also kind of draws parallels to how it looks in the Villains DLC. So he's just an absolute badass in the arcade games.
yeah,
The Duel, Revenge, and the original Golden Axe. So yeah, Mega Drive does him a bit dirty, but yeah, I think he's villain royalty, mate, and definitely the one that I love the most in the DLC.
definitely. Yeah, likewise.
Martin, we'll come to you next. Which villain do you want to shout out?
So is this shouting out the villains that are in there, or is this who we
It's
pick? Or...
any that you want to call out at all.
Right, because if I was gonna pick a villain that would have fit right in, I'm gonna go a bit left field here, and I'd have gone with the Mecha Dragon from Wonder Boy 3: The Dragon's Trap.
Oh,
Ooh,
I had that on my list.
Yeah. But not just the dragon from Wonder Boy 3. What I would have done is you fight him like you normally would for the first phase. In the second phase, you get all 6 dragons from the Dragon's Trap coming in at various points to do their little attacks or whatever, and that would have varied it quite nicely. I mean, it's been on several Sega systems. It'd be a nice, big boss fight. It could start off quite simply, back and forth, bit of fire, and then all of a sudden you've got like the zombie dragon flying in, starts dripping snot all over you or whatever it is he ends up doing. And you just go through these little ones. Just because I hate Alex enough that I think loads of attacks being thrown at you, like
Yeah, he gets to turn you into a lizard as well while you're playing.
or maybe he turns you into a lizard cube.
Oh well.
Oh.
Well, it's funny, isn't it? Because Lizard Cube have obviously already drawn that villain and those animations. But yeah, I had the Mecha Dragon because obviously he's the final boss in Wonder Boy and Monsterland,
Yeah.
and obviously the opening boss in the Dragon's Trap. What are your thoughts on the Mecha Dragon, Alex?
I think that's an absolutely brilliant idea. It's like so left field actually. It didn't even like kind of occur to me actually, but I love the idea of like all the different sort of like dragon forms coming in as well, and like maybe if like Lizard Q wanted to like reuse like some of those sprites from like Wonder Boy, they could have had like Joe changing into like the different animal forms as well, just to kind of vary it up a little bit.
Well, I was thinking on that point, the Nimpo that you get for beating it could be the lizard just pops out, shoots a little fireball, and then off you go. But can you imagine a T Lopes remix of the boss music from the Dragon's Trap? That would just be, I'm just gonna sit and listen to that for hours.
Oh yeah, that'd be wicked. Love it.
Yeah, T's soundtrack on that Shinobi DLC is awesome. Yeah, I'd love to see him try his hand at a few more different boss themes, etc. So yeah, great shout, mine. As I say, I had the Mecha Dragon on here just because I've never actually beaten him in Wonder Boy in Monsterland because I think that game's pretty hard. And yeah, there's a lot of luck involved.
Yeah.
Because the gold drops are so random sometimes, and if you don't get the right gold drops and the right stuff in the
I've
shop.
got to a couple of screens before him playing it legitimately, but from that point on, I've had to use modern save techniques because it is just such a brutal game. Unless you've been playing it since day dot, like it's just not happening. I know a couple of people that can do it, specifically on the Master System version, but I just play it and think, wow, how can you manage this? It's such a tough game, especially
Yeah.
with that time limit as well. Oh.
Oh, I know. But you have to fight. You fight the Mecha Dragon, and it's like, oh, by the way, I'm also a robotic dragon from space. And then you have another. You have one of your favorites, Alex. So you have the second phase. of the boss.
Well, I mean, you mentioned wanting Lizard Cube to do more games. Get in line. I want them to do Wonder Boy and Monster World first, then they can do some other games.
I've been hoping for them to do a remake of Wonder Boy and Monster World ever since they did that remake of the Dragon's Trap.
Yeah.
And do you know, I've never actually played Wonder Boy and Monsterland all the way through because I jumped straight in with Dragon's Trap when I sort of first got my Master System, and it's been on my to-do list for ages. So my only experience of fighting the Mecha Dragon is when you fight him at the start of Wonder Boy and Monster World. That's right, Wonder Boy through the Dragon's Trap. So
Yeah.
he's significantly harder than his when you fight him in Monsterland. Is that right? Then, like, really, really tough.
Yeah, he's got two phases in Monsterland. He's first of all, he looks like a normal dragon, and then he turns into. I've only ever seen footage of it, but he turns into kind of the actual Mecha Dragon, like the robotic, and
It's a slightly different sprite because obviously it's an older game, but yeah, it's effectively the same thing. I mean, I'm surprised they didn't do sort of like a quick two-phase flip at the beginning of Dragon's Trap when they, obviously did the beginning was the end. Previous game or whatever. But yeah, no, I mean, I'm like Alex. I did get to play Wonder Boy first on the Commodore, but the Dragon's Trap was the one I spent the most time on, and was my first ever RPG. So it's got a bit of a place with me, that one.
Yeah, likewise.
Yeah, I played Dragon's Trap a lot later, but Monster World was what I started with.
That was Sonic the Comic for me. Monster World. That was all I knew it from.
So Dan, let's turn the question back to you then, Dan. So who's your iconic villains then?
So the one that I'm going to start off with, and one that I think he probably should have been in the game, maybe, although not quite as famous as many others, but Neff from Altered Beast. I think that would have worked really well in the Villains DLC. But for me, Neff's one of those iconic Sega villains that everything about him. He's got the aura. He's got the one-liners. Who can forget? Welcome to your doom. Sucking your energy out of you when you beat one of his minions. Turns into the Rhino at the end. Kidnaps the girl, so you're constantly seeing these cutscenes of him doing God knows what to her in between levels. He's just an evil, nasty bastard. You're chasing him for 5 levels, and yeah, I think he could have worked really well in kind of the Villains DLC. Again, similar to what you're saying with the Mecha Dragon, Martin, utilizing all kind of features from the Altered Beast game.
I've never finished Altered Beast. Is that Neff?
That's the first level boss.
That's the first level boss, is it?
That's the one who like pulls his heads off and chucks them at you.
Right, yeah, because I'm not good enough at Altered Beast, unfortunately. Like, it's a great game. That's not the actual game. That's the little diorama.
I thought that was the game for a second there.
Yeah, I've gotten as far as I think it was the stage after the bear when I did it for the Mega Drive Challenge, like quite a while ago. But I've never actually completed the game because I utterly suck at it.
So he's so Neff is the one that is the bald guy.
Yeah,
the
one in the toga from the beginning. I assume that was him, but yeah.
Yeah, so he obviously pops up, testing that you've turned into your beast form. If you haven't, then he just sort of jogs along. If you haven't powered up sufficiently, so yeah, he's cocky enough that he wants to fight you at your full power. Then unleashes his minions on you and then sucks your power away in between levels and
attacks you some Duracell batteries for a bit.
Yeah.
And he's one of those villains as well that, like, if you're a Mega Drive owner of like a similar vintage to us, like pretty much everyone of that era should know him because it was the pack-in game that came with the Mega Drive. So Altered Beast was like either the first or second game I ever played on the Mega Drive. So I got Truxton with it, so possibly might have played that first, but then Altered Beast was always there in the background as well. And it's like, oh yeah, who's this bald guy nicking away powers at the end each time? Then you say, like going onto the Mega Drive from something like the Master System, again, Altered Beast was like really iconic for like having all that sampled speech in it and at much better quality. So like, yeah, welcome to your doom, and the guy at the start like, wise from your grave, you know,
Yeah.
all sort of like fucking nostalgic stuff.
It's so monotone sounding, but it's such an iconic line. It's like, "Wise from your grave."
But it was kind of weird with Neff as well, because, you know, big antagonists throughout the whole thing. And then I think you said this already, Dan. He changes into like a rhino as like the final boss, doesn't he?
Yeah.
And it's like, what? I was expecting something a bit different there. But
Yeah, because you get obviously you get the kind of the big tree thing that throws its faces at you. You got the thing with like billions of eyes in the second stage. What's at the end of the third one? You got that. It's that weird snail thing at the end of the third stage, and then you got the kind of the dragon. You got the dragon in the fourth one. It's like, oh, what's the final boss going to be? And it's like, oh, it's a rhino. Although he's tough in that final, but that final fight, he's cheap as all hell. But
kind of almost expecting like when he like appears on screen for him to go, "Say your prayers, Toidles." You know, it's like, wrong game.
It's got that color scheme, hasn't
it? Toidles.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's like a bald shredder that turns into Rocksteady. But yeah, it's I think you know, for the reasons that you said, Alex, he's very much a Mega Drive icon. You know, Altered Beast was the first game that I played on a Mega Drive. It wasn't my Mega Drive; it was a friend's at the time. But it's the first game that I played. I was like, wow, I'm playing on a Commodore 64. What the hell is this?
Yeah.
But yeah, he's iconic for those reasons, and you know, I think he would have fit in that sort of in the villains DLC. But he's just, for me, he's one of Sega's most iconic villains, regardless. So back over to you then, Alex. Who's next on the Hall of Infamy?
So another villain which I think is quite iconic, and also one which I think probably would have been maybe an interesting choice for the Shinobi DLC, is Dr. Kurian from House of the Dead, because again he sort of features in a lot of the sort of attract mode intro stuff. He's a guy who's got like a bit of interesting backstory, because I think originally he wasn't evil. He was just like trying to develop like some sort of like gene therapy stuff to help his terminally ill son, but then sort of succumbed to the sort of like, oh, I'm going to kill you all sort of like bargain. And then he sort of actually came back in the third game, and then like his cured son then becomes like a playable character to sort of help take him down. So
who's called Daniel, I think.
Daniel, the good name. And you know, the House of the Dead games are sort of famous for being so cheesy. So you know, the kind of dialogue, the sort of like campiness of it, and stuff like that.
Look, these blood.
Don't come. You know? And I think if they could have like incorporated that into the Shinobi game, maybe have like a sort of haunted house level, maybe have you like taking on some like zombies, a couple of the iconic villains from House of the Dead, like the sort of knight with no head and the sort of like annoying little like goblin thing. I love that boss, but I hate that little thing you got to shoot there. It's so annoying. Yeah, I think you know there's a lot of iconic stuff in House of the Dead, and you know, and that was very well referenced in Sonic and All Star Racing Transformed. I thought as well had a really good sort of House of the Dead theme level. Kurian Mansion.
Yeah.
Well, didn't they have the two zombies that they named in the original All Stars Racing as well that had a cart between them?
Yes. And they featured in House of the Dead EX as well. They're like the main playable characters in that. But I don't know if they originated in that game or if they started in the Sonic one and then got transferred across to House of the Dead EX. And if you've never played that, it's worth checking out. It's like a sort of like House of the Dead version of Point Blank, like lots of like little like mini shooting games.
I think I saw you do a video on it a little while ago when you were sort of testing out Techno Parrot or something.
Yeah, it was one of those ones that like you couldn't play in Technoparrot for ages because you had to pay for it, and then eventually, if you wait sort of long enough, these Technoparrot games do become sort of playable. So that was my first time ever playing it. I'd never ever seen it in the arcade, and yeah, I thought it was pretty good fun.
Speaking of arcade, give us Scarlet Dawn, cowards.
Yes, yeah. Well,
I love that game. Absolutely brilliant cabinet.
Again, playable at home if you know how, but you know, if it came out properly, I would definitely sink some cash into that.
Yeah. I'll get you. I'll taxi you down. You can set it up for me, Alex.
Yeah, I got some footage that I took when I was in Japan with the full on cabinet. I propped my phone up on the back and was just it's absolutely superb, Scarlet Dawn. But
Yeah,
yeah,
oh, dual MP7s, just
yeah,
absolutely brilliant.
Yeah.
that's
I've
a
never
great
actually seen
shout
it
out.
in the arcade.
Have you not?
No, I've
It's
only ever.
actually in it's in Arcade Club in Bury, or at least it was. So that's one that's over in
There's
UK.
a
But
haven in Pwllheli over in northwest Wales that's got a cab as well, because that's where I played it.
how much was it a go over there, Martin?
I think it was just a pound to go.
Was
Like
it?
just yeah,
Oh,
standard pound to go.
Bargain.
So
yeah.
of course I put £2 in so I could dual wield on my own.
You see, obviously in Arcade Club, you pay your entry fee and everything. All the machines are on free play, but the only line longer than the House of Dead Scarlet Dawn was the Outrun cabinets, the Outrun SPDX cabinets. They were the longest ones. But yes, I couldn't get on Scarlet Dawn in Arcade Club. Obviously, there's 4 cars in Arcade Club, so you can eventually get on Outrun. Me and James were on there for far too long, but I didn't get to. I only played Scarlet Dawn in Japan in the end. That was the one time I managed to get to play it.
I've never ever seen one of those proper full size Outrun 2 SDX cabinets. That is like on my life goals to tick off. So I'm going to have to pop over to Arcade Club and Bury at some point, even though it is like about 500 miles away from where I live.
No, it's like opposite end of the country for you.
Yeah,
You're Bristol way, aren't you?
yeah.
Yeah,
But
it's
I definitely have to pay a visit out there. But I did go to the Heart of Gaming in Croydon last year, and they didn't have a Scarlet Dawn there, but they did have all 4 of the original House of the Deads, and they were all lined up together. So that was really cool to see that. And
nice.
there's an arcade bar in Bristol that's got like a 4-player Outrun 2 SP, so not the one with like the sort of like 2-player wheels and everything like that, but just like the standard one. And that's got a 4-player setup, and that was constantly in use at this like arcade bar. Like people were like always wanting to play on it, so it's good to see that people have got good taste in arcade races from 20 years ago. And I mean, I think the game still looks pretty like contemporary, despite the fact it's technically like a retro game now.
Oh, it looks amazing. I mean, last podcast that just went out at the time of recording, the one I did with Sega Lord X, there's a chunk of that where we're just talking about just how well that game holds up. That it's the best arcade game ever made, basically. And
Yeah,
that what the hell is Sega doing not remastering it for new consoles? I mean, to hell with a Ferrari license, just slightly alter all the car models so they can just be indistinct Ferraris that or not or non-Ferraris as the case
yeah,
will be. Don't care about the Ferraris, just give us the game.
yeah. Do Outrunners, non-licensed cars, 8-player link up, branching routes. But 100% agree with you and Sega X. I mean, Outrun 2, like probably best arcade racer ever. Could well be my number one game of all time ever. I think
Yeah,
it's one of my favorites.
yeah, up there for me as well. But back onto there's a nice little tangent on Outrun and arcade games there. Great stuff. But Dr. Kyrian, I had him on my list as well, and I think that's an absolutely tremendous shout. Of true, but and that's why I did a video recently. Maybe it's a few months back now. I feel it's obviously Halloween time, so quite a long time ago. Where's that time gone? But I did the House of the Dead trilogy, and even though obviously there's more House of the Dead games than the core 3 games are basically all Dr. Kyrian. Like 2
Yeah,
is kind of him handing over to Goldman, but 3 obviously he comes back. You've got his son. It harkens back to the original Kyrian mansion. You've got the flashbacks with him and his son, and obviously he's kind of the final boss as well in some really odd form. So yeah, he is that tragic figure, isn't he? Is that his original intentions were good. He goes obviously utterly insane with grief and rage. It's like, do you know what? Let's just kill everyone.
yeah,
And then,
Know that feeling.
oh, I've been there before. Death Adder and Shinobi making you feel like that. Yeah, he's absolutely superb. So yeah, how about you, Martin? You think the same thing of Dr. Kyrian?
Yeah, it was a choice I hadn't really considered, to be honest with you. But yeah, very, very iconic, and certainly would have been a very good left field choice, and would have been great at introducing people to House of the Dead as well. I mean, maybe not via the remakes, but
Mm. Yeah, still yet to even try the demo of the House of the Dead 2 remake, which I downloaded when it very first came out, and then I watched your video on it, Dan, and mention of like sloppy controls and piss filter, and I thought, do you know what? Maybe I just like might give that one a miss.
Yeah, it's awful. The thing about that, have you still got the demo downloaded?
I have still got it, yeah.
Yeah, you see, I have the demo on my Steam library, but I uninstalled it, and then for some footage for a previous video, I wanted to try and capture it again and re-download the demo, but they took the demo down. So unless you've got it installed still, you can't play it. So it was like, do I need some footage for this? And then I was just like, oh god, I'm gonna have to pay like 20 quid or whatever. No way am I paying that. So I mean, play it for a laugh. It's atrocious. It really is.
One thing I will say in favour of the first House of the Dead remake, which I bought on the PlayStation 4, is that they did eventually patch PlayStation Move controls into it. So, like, you could actually play it like a proper light gun. Although, actually, they weren't perfect, though. There was, like, one time the calibration just completely went for some reason when I was on one of the bosses, and I just, like, couldn't calibrate it properly in the end, and I ended up just having to give up. But I thought, well, at least I added that in as, like, an extra bit of, like, kind of, like, content which people had asked for. So, I'll give the developers there a teeny tiny little bit of credit. But no, they need to up their game, though, particularly as well from what we saw with the Panzer Dragoons Y demo. But again, that's probably a sidebar for another pod altogether.
Yeah, I didn't play the first remake until a few months ago. And I thought it was okay. I think it's pretty bad that they hadn't patched in any kind of PC light gun support. I mean, if it had it, would I bother with a Sinding or something? Probably not on the basis of that game, but just feel kind of tragic that it's not there, and it's kind of dull playing it with a mouse. Feels a bit too easy.
So I wonder if it might work okay with my aim track then, because that basically works just like a mouse. So I should maybe give the demo a try then, see what it's like.
Yeah, I know Amtrak works similarly to what I had set up at one point was I got a Wii sensor bar and a Bluetooth dongle, and I was able to use my Wii remote on my PC. That was my old machine, but I was playing light gun games with that at one point, putting them in the Wii holster and using that as a light gun. But it wasn't perfect because basically you were just using it as a mouse on your screen, but did the job. So if it just kind of replaces the mouse, then maybe. But the thing that I gather from some people is that it doesn't quite work as it should do. It hasn't got official light gun support, so imagine it might be a little bit ropey. But there we go. If you want to kill Dr. Curian, you have to stick with the arcade originals or the
better versions, basically.
Yeah. Martin, next villain from you.
Well, I mean, Dr. Curian was a great choice, so I'm hoping mine will be as left field as that, and probably one that might not be on your list. But I was racking my brains, and I thought, who would really, really work would be Dark Force.
Dark Force. So is that
As
one
in
of the villains?
Dark Foals in West, but Dark Force overall from Phantasy Star.
From Phantasy Star, right?
Uh,
Yeah. See, I don't know the Phantasy Star. I've never beaten a Phantasy Star game. I've got pretty far into 2, but
That's the one I've not completed. I've done the other 3, and I'm obviously a massive fan of online. But yeah, no,
yes.
Obviously he looks different in multiple different games, but like in certainly in 3 and 4, he's got at least one form where he basically looks a bit like a giant wall where he's just got the arms just sticking out, and then like the demonic face, and that would work brilliantly as sort of like a phase 1, and then going into phase 2, you could get one of the forms from Phantasy Star Online, like perhaps the last one, where he's all sort of neon with that big circular arena type looking thing, but he's there sort of swishing his blades around and trying to instant kill you and stuff like that. But I think that would be an absolute massive spectacle, and if you can imagine that in Lizard Cube sort of hand drawn art, that would just be
Let's kiss.
Yeah, so I've not beaten a mainline Phantasy Star game, but I have beaten online. So that Dark Fowls I am actually familiar with. So beat him a lot of times, especially if at some point back in the day people were obsessed with that towards the future run where you just basically speed run all the
Yeah, it was the
matches.
Famicom. Was it the Famicom? Not Famicom. The Famitsu thing that they did, where you literally do like two rooms, then a boss, two rooms,
Yeah,
boss, two rooms, boss. You just run that repeatedly, and you absolutely shoot up in levels. It's absolutely brilliant.
yeah. I remember I'd log in and first thing someone would message like TTF, TTF,
Yeah.
TTF. Yeah, I guess so. No, he was a yeah, that was a great spectacle. One thing that always struck me about Dark Fowls and the Dreamcast game is how much he looked like the final boss in Burning Rangers.
See, I've not completed Burning Rangers, so I can't make
Ah.
that comparison. I played, obviously, I played it, but I've never managed to complete it yet. So
Yeah, the color scheme and the kind of one of his designs really matches what the final boss looks like in Burning Rangers. But yeah, he's definitely an imposing figure and quite uniquely designed as well. Like quite unlike anyone else that we've talked about so far. He's not like an evil cackling man wringing his hands or anything like that. He's not like not like
yeah, he's
Kyrian
just
or
there, isn't he? Like he's just, I'm big demon. I'm just going to try and kill you or take over your mind, whichever I fancy. But you think like how many different incarnations of him there are? I think there's like about 4 or 5 different times you have to beat him in Fantasy Star 4, and each time he's got a different form. And even his final form, like, has got a massive two-parter where the first one is quite. It's a very sort of iconic, lots of teeth all over, like teeth on his armpit, teeth on his knees, like just teeth everywhere. And then he just turns into this almost sort of like devilish angel figure. Um, and I know that Fantasy Star Online 2, before they went to New Genesis or whatever it was called, they did have a big Dark Souls fight where they actually remixed the two boss themes from Fantasy Star 4 with the final boss theme from Fantasy Star Online Episode 3, where you fight the two girls, depending on which faction you're playing, and then the actual Falls theme as well. So it's just like this massive 10-minute orchestral piece that plays while you're doing this fight, and it just sounds utterly epic.
yeah, I never played episode 3. I only ever played the first two. So you're you're shaming me with your fantasy knowledge now.
I've still got my copy from release day. I never got rid of it.
Yeah, it goes for a fair bit now, doesn't it? The card one.
Yes, yeah. I'm so glad I picked up a lot of those GameCube games when they came out because they're worth loads now.
What about yourself, Alex? Have you any experience with Dark Files in Fantasy Star?
No, I'm ashamed to say I've never played a Fantasy Star game. I've never played Burning Rangers either. I probably should hand in my Sega fanboy card. I'm afraid.
Hand in your
Should I
card
run the
right now.
podcast now? Like,
But it's funny though, actually, because I mean I'm not really familiar with any of the sort of like RPG games on like the Saturn or the Mega Drive, and there must be like a huge wealth of like villains and stuff to kind of pick from those games. I know you guys talked about like the Shining Force stuff recently as well, and again that's something I've never really played. The only closest thing I've come to playing to an RPG on the Saturn is Dark Savior, which I
Mhm.
thought was absolutely excellent. And again, that's got an interesting thing with its villain, and it's not really a villain that I think would be so iconic. They'd want to do a DLC about it or anything. But very interesting that you've got the sort of like 5 multiple choice things that happen at the start of it, depending on like how long you take to sort of get to a certain point in the game, where you can either sort of get to the point where you can beat the villain, and then it completely changes how the game plays. Like you don't reach the point in time the villain like kills all these people and gets away, or like you can sort of get to the point, fight the villain and lose, and then it changes again. And I just thought it was like such a clever experience they did with that game, that like you can play it like 5 different times and it's like different each time, and you've actually got to use a bit of skill to get to like those sort of like more difficult sort of like scenarios as well.
Yeah, yeah, and you've played Dark Savior as well, haven't you, Martin? I think
yeah, I
is it
have not
Violent, isn't it?
massive amounts, but it is a great game. Like I've tried to go through a couple of the paths, but I've never completed one of them. But yeah, absolutely brilliant premise.
Yeah,
Yeah,
fantastic stuff.
yeah.
And
I
like,
beat one of them a long time ago. And then I tried doing some of the other ones, and and that's the thing. They are so radically different. Like it's not even like there's a little bit of the game that's different. It's like a completely different game
yeah.
for a lot of these paths. It's insane how different they are.
And for someone who's not a particularly big RPG fan, back in the day, I did do like all the different scenarios through to completion. So I can't remember if it's like 4 or 5, maybe it's 4. But it was also part of like being a poor student as well. So it's once you bought a game, that's the only game that you're going to like keep for like 6 months.
Thing is, I know why it appealed to you because it's not really a proper RPG because it pretty much turns into a one-on-one
Yeah, there's the sort of
battler,
like
doesn't it? So,
there's like action elements as well, and then there's almost like a sort of slightly Pokemon-esque thing with it that you can start collecting like the different villains that you sort of like encounter, and then you can use those in like those like one-on-one fights as well. I mean, not that I'm particularly into Pokemon, or no, I'm not into Pokemon at all. Actually, don't know what I'm saying.
Oh, you're making me want to play it again. I'm well overdue a Dark Savior playthrough. That game is utterly sublime. I promised myself I'd get through the Shining games first, so.
oh yeah, no, Shining definitely needs to be played first. I can almost reach my copy of Dark Saber from where I'm sat, but not quite.
Sadly, I sold mine many years ago, along with like most of my PAL Saturn games. Only a couple left.
That's why the ODEs are for.
Yeah.
So I think it's back to me for the next one. And in this instance, I'm going for a villain that is most certainly iconic. And what I will say is this villain is unique in that he's never been defeated, and that is Lan Di. He's never actually been toppled. You fight him once in Shenmue 3 and get your ass kicked. And he gets away, which has been a bit of an anticlimax for Shenmue fans. But I think, he's got that menace, that aura. When he comes in, the first thing you see, I just remember being blown away by the visuals in the Dreamcast game. His flowing robe, his eyes as they kind of glance around, looking at Awao Hazuki, then looks at you and decides to kind of threaten to kill you, and kills his dad, and then basically disappears. And you don't see him an awful lot, but I think as kind of as a motivator, he's absolutely fantastic. Obviously, he's the head of kind of the Chi-Yu Men, Chinese crime organization, and the times that you do see him are always memorable. So obviously, there's the opening of Shenmue 1. You've got the kind of the end sequence of Shenmue 2, where he's watching you in the climactic battle, hanging from the helicopter as you fight Do New. And then you've got the end of Shenmue 3 as well. And I think every time that you encounter him, he just doesn't disappoint. And yeah, as I say, he's a unique Sega villain. He is a Sega villain. He came originally from a Sega game, and I think Sega still own the rights to Shenmue. So he is a Sega villain. But yeah, he hasn't been defeated. Every other villain I think we're talking about has been beaten at least once. Death Adder's been beaten 3 times, 4 times officially. And Dark Fowls, I think, has been defeated like millions of times across the globe. But yeah, but Lan Di, yeah, something about him just maybe it's just Ryo Hazuki's just not a very good hero, but he's never been beaten.
You can just imagine like Masashi jumping into the stage and Lan Di just turns up and just goes, "Show me the mirror."
Either that, or you could just ask him if he like knows where any sailors are.
I'm looking for sailors.
Let's get ready.
At least we're not asking for Chinese people. I used to be Chinese.
I was actually showing my kids that clip the other day, and I can't remember what it was, but I quoted it. It was at the dinner table. It was like, "What are you talking about?" I was like, "It's a clip," and I showed them it, and I was like, "Oh my god, you and your stupid old games, Dad." It's a classic. But yeah, Martin, what are your thoughts on Mr. Lan Di?
Yeah, I mean, I only really know Lan Di mostly through Shenmue 1 because I haven't actually completed Shenmue 2 yet. I've played it and I've got it, but I've just never completed it end to end. So most of my sort of like encounter with him was that opening from Shenmue 1, and he's a badass villain. Like,
Yeah.
absolutely, like he's got a unique look. He sounded great even in the English dub. Like his voice actor did a pretty good job putting that sort of maliciousness across. And just the way he moves with that sort of like after image effect when he's going around Ryo's dad. Is it Wow Hazuki?
Wow Hazuki.
Yeah. And just that fight was just absolutely brilliant. And I remember playing Shenmue 1 for the first time, and I just sat there breathless because it just looked so amazing. But yeah, I think as a fight, he would be absolutely incredible.
Yeah, the battle that you have with him in Shenmue 3 is a little bit underwhelming, but yeah, I think he still maintains his aura. What about yourself, Alex? Had much experience with Landy Summer?
Not really. So I think I've done Shenmue wrong because I've never played the first one, and I tried jumping in with the second one when I just sort of like randomly found it in a shop, and this was like in the dying days of the Dreamcast. So there wasn't sort of like really many games around, and I thought, well, let's give this a try, and I just didn't get into it. And I think maybe because I hadn't done the first one, I didn't really get like all the nuances in the story,
Mm.
and I sort of like really gave it a go, and it just like wasn't for me. But because I've heard other people talking like really passionate about it, I think maybe I need to give it another try and see if I can sort of get into it. But I think I've got to like a bit with like one of the forklift kind of sections, and there was like a bit where like you couldn't progress the game until it was like getting to a certain point a day, and I was like, oh, what do I do now? And I think I was just like, I need to change my way of thinking about, maybe trying to get into it. But I have heard mixed things about Shenmue 3, though. Did you find it like an enjoyable experience or a bit disappointing?
I enjoyed it for what it was. I thought it was a good. I thought it harkened back to the Dreamcast game. I mean, the visuals weren't great, and it played like the Dreamcast game, which is a blessing and a curse, really, because it felt retro. So, if you were expecting like a modern open world game with Shenmue themes, you'd be disappointed. That's not to say it was kind of a perfect replica of the Shenmue gameplay because they added this stamina feature in, which was a bit crap. Um, which probably kind of stopped you from running through the game too quickly. But by the same token, it just felt so artificial and unnecessary. So it wasn't perfect, but I went away with it really happy with it. Um, so I was really pleased with it. Obviously, I don't think critically or commercially it kind of did what it needed to do. I think the series got a really big uphill struggle if it's going to ever make any sort of comeback. So obviously, there's the enhanced version coming out later this year. I think it's in June actually. Um, so that needs to do well in order for it to have a future, I think. But yeah, I personally enjoyed it a lot. I really liked it. But that's from I got Shenmue the day it launched in the UK. I had to get a DCX disc to play it on my Japanese Dreamcast. Um, and then yeah, the same with Shenmue 2. So and I played those games countless times. So I lived and breathed them. I think they're not everyone's cup of tea. So it may be that they if you played Shenmue 2 and couldn't get into it, maybe it's just not for you because you have to. Especially, I find that I personally have a lot less patience for games these days as well.
Yeah, likewise.
I
I,
don't
I
like
like
games that waste my time.
I like stuff that's kind of like short and accessible, which is why something like Quick Game Outrun 2 is like brilliant. And we're talking about Indiana Jones earlier. I find I really need to put like a whole like day aside to sort of like get into it because I spend like the first half an hour like thinking, what are the controls again? Like how do I do this? So
Yeah, I know, and that's why I was thinking. God, first thing when I pick up a new game, one of the first things I do, if it's a modern game, that is, not so much a retro game, but a modern game. Although some retro games, but I'll go on how long to beat. Like, how long is this? 20 hours. Okay, how long is this? 6 hours. Oh, lovely. Let me
yeah,
let me get cracking on that. How long is this? 80. Yeah, we won't bother with that.
yeah, totally with you there.
So we'll come back down to you, Alex. Another villain, another Sega villain, if you would be so kind.
Well, another one which I thought would have been good for Shinobi, probably not a million miles away from what we got with Yakuza, but is the boss from this game here,
I was hoping
Mr.
someone would nominate him.
Mr. X. And again, because he's sort of quite iconic in that he's been the villain across three of the main Streets of Rage games. Then he's like a legacy villain in Streets of Rage 4 with his children becoming like the bosses there. And I think he's got a really bizarre story arc as well because he starts off as just like some like mainstream like street level hoodlum in the first game, and then in the second kind of similar, but somehow he's come back to life. And then by the third game, he's into like robotics and cloning, and depending on like whether you play the Japanese one or the American one, it sort of goes off in slightly different, like batshit like tangents. So I think, yeah, he's pretty iconic, and Streets of Rage 2, probably the greatest scrolling beat 'em up ever. So would it be nice to see him get a bit of love? But I mean, I can understand why Sega went for someone from Yakuza, because obviously it's current and it's very popular. It's probably their biggest IP after Sonic at the moment. But a bit of Mr. X love would have been pretty cool.
Yeah, I thought that he was going to be the other villain aside from Eggman. I was surprised to see Majima. Obviously, from us old Sega heads perspective, he would have been the ideal choice for that DLC. But Martin, Mr. X fan yourself?
Yeah, no, I absolutely love Mr. X. Streets of Rage was one of those games I got relatively, pretty good at when I was younger, albeit I played the Mega CD arcade classics version more than the Mega Drive one at the time. But
With its weird voices.
version.
With its weird voices.
But it was weird voices, but that's just what I was used to. And obviously one player Golden Axe as well, because, sod playing with other people, clearly. But no, really iconic villain. I mean, I'm not sure if he would have worked without them retooling the DLC, though, because they haven't used enemies from the respective games. So you can just imagine him sitting there clicking his fingers, and then in would walk some of Lord Roos's men. And that's a bit of a letdown, or whatever. But yeah, it would have varied things up, because none of them have sort of got like machine guns per se. I mean, obviously Robotnik's got his little laser type shots or whatever, but to have like an actual machine gun wielding character that shoots around and stuff. And to be fair, you could mix in all three games where his phase 2 is him as a robot, for example.
Yeah.
So, you could have got quite a lot of love in there for Mr. X. So that would have been an absolute fantastic choice.
Yeah, and I suppose if they were going to do him as like a two-stage boss, like with some minions as well, maybe they could have had him like clicking his fingers and like Shiva comes out, so you could have like a bit of ninja on ninja action there.
Absolutely.
And the unlockable costume from it could have dressed up Sashi in a nice blaze outfit.
I mean, this shit's just writing itself, isn't it?
So it shows where our minds are going. You went to Blaze outfit. I was thinking in the kind of the teal suit and the red tie, business Joe Masashi. But yeah, I think it would have been great. Yeah, I mean, he doesn't quite have kind of the attack range of the others. He hasn't got the magic that kind of Death Adder has. So they'd have to be quite creative about it, unless they did kind of bring in like Shiva as kind of his tag partner of sorts. But yeah, I think he's one of the most iconic Sega villains there ever was, and he has got a great story arc. Obviously he looks like he's dead at the end of the first one. He looms over the city, and he has to beat him again in the second one. And then yeah, like you were saying, Alex, he's got this. I don't know which. I think both stories are absolutely nuts in Streets of Rage 3. It's either there's bombs and he's created robots to replace city officials, or he's created some new, was it the Rakushin that blows things up. I mean, he's going to basically try and blow up the world, or blow up all the world leaders. I can't remember which way around it is. And
isn't there sort of like one boss fight in Streets of Rage 3 where it turns out he's just like a brain in a jar now, or something like that?
That's the final boss fight. So. Yeah. So there's 4 endings in the Western version. There's only 3 in the Japanese one. But the same boss if you do stage 5, you basically fight him. You go up the elevator and you fight him, but then it just turns out to be a robot. And in the Japanese version, you keep playing. If you play on easy in the Western version, you get a bad ending where he's in the background and he crushes his glass of wine. But it turns out when you actually do get to him, he's just a brain in the jar. And he's like, this is the way you left me, blah, 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 blah. So then you have to fight his robotic kind of avatar. And you have to do that in 3 minutes. And if you do it in 3 minutes, you get the good ending. If you do it in more than 3 minutes, you get the less good ending. So I love Streets of Rage 3. Well, I love Bare Knuckle 3. Streets of Rage 3 is a bit of a chore to play through, if I'm brutally honest. But the Japanese version translated, I think, is almost just as good as the second one.
Yeah, I've heard the Japanese version is the way to go, and
absolutely.
Didn't the Western game get its like difficulty like artificially like inflated by Sega of America to make it like much more difficult than the Japanese one?
Yeah, it cut character. It changed the story. It cut characters. I mean, even the cutscenes aren't as good as the Japanese original.
And what's with the
And
character color changes, like Blaze
yeah,
in silver and Axel in like yellow? It's just no,
Uh,
just no. But can you imagine if Mr. X was put in a Sega Villains DLC, the opening cutscene where Musashi, the Anko, and whatever the lady's name was, I can't remember, they're having a little chat. But for the Streets of Rage versions, you just get the intro crawl with
oh
sort
yeah,
of the music going on.
but
It's there
that's
like,
sort of like slightly Enya sounding like music going on in the background.
yeah, yeah. Take my breath away.
So, Martin, over to you next. Then, give us another Sega villain.
So again, I was just trying to rack my brains, and it's not necessarily one that would be my first choice, but I think it would be a very coveted one, and that would actually be Joral.
Oh, yes, another one I had.
Mm.
Another great shout.
Yeah,
Tell us about Jarrell.
well, obviously, depending on which version it is, because it's someone's mother at one point, and then it's someone else at another point. But like, if we just go with the iconic sort of silver-looking Joral, that could be anybody, but you imagine that she's using the move sets of any of the characters. So she comes in and does sort of like Akira's sort of shoulder charge move, and then 5 seconds later she's flipping you on the floor, like using Awie's throws or whatever. And you'd have a lot of different moves you could get through there. And while like it's just a silver bodysuit effectively, so it wouldn't look itself. You could always go to a phase 2 where you get gold Dural, or whatever, and then it would change the moveset. So you could have like half the cast moves in the first phase, and then a completely different other half's cast moves for the second set. So it would vary up quite nicely, and you could have one of the arenas as the sort of boss stage. I mean, I don't know, Shundi's River stage or something like that. It would look absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
Especially in that hand drawn style. You imagine just a raft moving around with the bridge. And then just doing that fight, that would be absolutely incredible, I reckon.
And do you
Yeah.
know what? I'd love to hear T. Lopes doing some remixes of the Virtua Fighter 2 soundtrack. I
Yeah.
mean, there's some absolutely cracking tunes in there. And imagine like some modern day versions of those would sound ace. Like I think T's musical stuff is absolutely brilliant.
No, I can't
Yeah.
fault a single soundtrack he's done, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I'd love to see him get his hands on the Virtua Fighter 2 soundtrack. It would be absolutely amazing. But yeah, I think he could have a lot of fun with Jirao because yeah, as you say, Mike, she's basically just a mimic, isn't she? She could play all the Virtua Fighter characters. She could copy Joe Musashi, use his Nimpo attacks against him. I think she is fairly iconic.
Yeah,
And
quite well known.
and the thing is, I mean, obviously, you only get one shot at her. It'd be interesting that they could do something on that theme. You get a chance at thinking about it'd be a bit of a pain if you had to do a bunch of run back every time you lost to her. But so I thought that would be a great idea. Every time you lose to Dre, you have to go back to the beginning of the stage. But then I was thinking, no, you have to do that in Hollow Knight, and that's a real pain in the ass.
But then again, you look at Virtua Fighter 5, well, at least Ultimate Showdown, and you don't have to beat her.
No, you never have to beat her in any of the games, do you?
But if you had it that you had to go back and do the stage again, that would actually tie in with like Shinobi history, because isn't that what happens like in the arcade version of Shinobi on the final stage? That like if you don't manage to beat the boss, I think you can't continue. Is that right, or am I making that up?
Yeah, no, that's right. No, it's not even just the boss. It's the so when you fight them, well, if you die anywhere or you lose all your lives on the last kind of episode, like you can't continue because when I beat it last year, because I thought I'm going to really try and beat this, and I didn't know that you couldn't continue on the last stage, so I just really sat down in the arcade and just hammered it out just on main, just sticking continues in, and then got to the last the last level and was just like, right, that's my last life, I'll continue, and it's like, oh wait, that's the title screen.
Oh, no.
Namco's Burning Force does that, and I thought, yes, I've got to the end. I'm going to beat this. Oh, I can't continue. Shit.
Sega really loved them 10p's back in the day.
Yeah.
Oh, a lot of games do it. eSWAT, arcade eSWAT is another one. Anywhere in the last 3 levels, you can't continue. Master System Double Dragon is another one. Where if you If you die on the last stage, you can't continue unless you do the 20 backflips.
Oh, that's interesting. So I used to have Double Dragon on the Master System, and I had managed to finish it. So I must have like just managed to get through like on my last continue each time. Then
Either you did it on your last continue, or you did the cheat, because the cheat is at the beginning of the level you just do 1 and 2 together and do 20 backflips, or is it 20 backflips, 20 jump kicks, and then that
maybe I
gives
was
you
doing
infinite.
maybe I was doing the cheat then. I can't remember. But like if that was in like a Sega Power or Mean Machines back in the day, I'd be like, right, I'm definitely doing that then.
Was
It's like
you lot
like
are
with
going on
the,
about moves and stuff, and I'm just there thinking the Road Avenger car's in the first stage somewhere. That's about as far as I go with Double Dragon.
and it was like with Revenge of Shinobi as well. So like before I even had the game, I sort of like found out about the Infinite Shuriken cheat in that. And so I thought, well, the original Shinobi gives you infinite shurikens. This is obviously how the developers wanted you to play it. So, you know, I always used to just play it with infinite shurikens. So it was like when people were getting stuck on bosses, I was like, well, it's easy, isn't it? You just keep doing like the somersault and flinging loads of the shuriken at them.
Yeah, the first boss is
Don't
a
know what
lot
you
harder when you're
complained
going with
about.
Infinite Shuriken
Yeah,
sometimes.
easy.
Yeah, yeah. The last time I played Revenge of Shinobi, I was getting annoyed. I've never done the Infinite Shuriken trick. Well, I did, but that would have been like years ago. I wish I did do it last time I replayed it, because it was a real pain, especially that first boss. The first boss must be a doddle with infinite shurikens.
Yeah, you just like stand on that platform and just like keep somersaulting and chucking stuff at him.
Yeah, even if you start with 90 and you're really conservative with them, you do that
Yeah.
10 times and you're out.
Uh, the last time I played it was when I was just getting a bit of footage for my original Shinobi Art of Vengeance review,
Hmm.
and I'd forgotten how hard the timing is for the double somersault in Revenge of Shinobi, because I've
Yeah.
got so used to modern games where it's just like you just press the button, press it again, but like you've specifically got to wait for like Joe to be at the apex of his like somersault, and I thought I'm sure this didn't give me this much trouble when I was a kid, and like the time I'd played it before that. I got all the way to the very last level, and then I could not find my way through the maze. And like that never used to give me any problems back in the day because Mean Machines had like a map of it, so I always just used to go straight to the map. So I had it memorized off the top of my head back then. I could do it like without even looking at the map after a while. But now coming back to it then, which was like 25, 30 years later, I was like, right, I'm sure that memory's still locked up here somewhere. And no, I just got completely lost and eventually just like died and ran out of continues.
Yeah, I got through it. I got through it once, got to the last boss, and which is yeah, that's a great boss, by the way, which we'll talk about in a bit. But yeah, it took ages to beat him, and of course the girlfriend died. But the best way to do it, when I kind of read about it after, is that if you pick up kind of the power up and take on the boss, it's quite easy to do it in the time before the girlfriend gets squished.
Well,
So
because I used to play it with the Infinite Shurikens, I didn't even realize there was a bad ending because, you know, you're just like constantly pumping Shurikens into the hole. And so, like, when I saw about something about like the bad ending, I was like, there's a bad ending in this game? Like, what?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I used to play with infinite shurikens all the time, but I got to a point where I got really, really good at it, and I could just get through the labyrinth, no trouble at all. And I can't remember if you can actually hit the blocks on the side that stop Naoko getting crushed with your close range attack. Because obviously, when you're nearby, you can just slash it with a shuriken, and it doesn't actually throw one, but
Yeah.
which is quite, very, very useful. But yeah, I'm like Alex. I tried it again recently when I ran it for the Mega Drive Challenge, and I only got as far as the Arnold Schwarzenegger boss in the Scrapyard. I was like, oh my god, I'm stuck at this game now.
I do think it takes a while, but you do kind of get the rhythm of the double jump eventually.
Yeah.
It does become second nature, but it takes a little bit because it's quite unconventional compared to other games.
Yeah,
I
it's a
wondered
lot
about,
easier to activate in Shinobi 3. It just works in
yeah.
Shinobi 3, in my opinion. So
I was playing it in an emulator as well, rather than on like proper Mega Drive hardware. So I wondered if like maybe the extra play and like the joypad button might have like taken that into sort of consideration as well. So maybe it's just like a little bit looser and harder to get the timing exactly right.
Yeah, it's never going to be the same as an original Mega Drive pad on a CRT via RF or composite or whatever we were all playing on back then.
Did you have the version back then that still had some of the like famous villains in it. So
No, I never got to play the. So the Terminator's still in it to a degree, isn't he? But yeah,
yeah,
by the time I got around to playing it, they'd swapped Batman, and they'd swapped Godzilla out, and Spider-Man had a legal disclaimer at the beginning. But did you? I think I saw before you said that you have, haven't you?
yeah. So the version that I had, it didn't have Batman in it. It was just like some random like Man Bat thing. But Spider Man
Yeah.
was in it with the disclaimer, and still had Godzilla in it, and like the Terminator and Rambo looking guys. So again, this was something I wasn't even aware of until many years later that like those characters like got taken out because
Mm.
I mean I think Sega didn't really have like much idea about how copyrighted IPs and stuff worked. I mean, I think with like Golden Axe with all those like digitized screens, which I found out years later were from like Rambo First Blood.
Rambo, yeah.
Um, there's like one from like the people screaming in the village is a woman screaming from an American Werewolf in London. I read as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, I didn't know
Yeah.
that one.
And then Marilyn Monroe in the original Shinobi
yeah,
on the
Yes, yeah.
wall as well. But yeah, but unlike Alex, I played a version which had pretty much all of it on display, so I wasn't aware of it. And I know even the Mega CD version, it's based on the 1.3 release. So I think Spider-Man and Godzilla are gone, but it still has Batman or something. It's got one of them still in it on the Mega CD
Yeah, I
arcade
think it's
classics
got
version.
Spider-Man still in it, I think, on the
Yeah.
Mega CD one. Because it's very similar to the Mega Games one, which is the one that I played the most. It's like the compilation version. But yeah. Tons of, it's what I said. When I saw that Villains DLC, I was like, Joe Musashi's beating them all. Arnie, he's beat the T-800, he's beat Godzilla, he's beat Spider-Man and Batman back to back,
We're going up against bloody Thanos next from the MCU or something like that.
he's a goddamn legend.
Yeah, or
It's,
Darth Vader or something like that.
It doesn't matter what dimension you're from, Joe Musashi will do you in.
Yeah.
Well, although, of course, like one of the Soul Calibur games had Darth Vader as a DLC like years
Yeah,
ago.
Soul Calibur 4.
Yeah, which I really enjoyed.
Hmm.
So my last one is a bit of a cheat.
Is it Bernie Solar?
It's Tom Kalinske.
Well, Bernie, yeah, maybe. No, this one's a bit of a cheat because it's arguably more of a minion, but it did feature as the main villain for at least one game, and that is Metal Sonic. So obviously, iconic villain. Sometimes goes rogue. Debuted as Dr. Robotnik's ultimate creation, a match for Sonic the Hedgehog in Sonic the Hedgehog CD, which we know is your favorite Sonic game.
The best Sonic game.
Not necessarily. I didn't say that. But yeah, I mean that race I think is iconic. I played Sonic CD back to back recently twice. Played it once on the Mega Drive Mini 2 and once on the Xbox 360 version, and that race is just superb. The iconography behind it. I mean, the first time you meet Metal Sonic, he's stealing Amy Rose. And every time you see him come after again, it's kind of one of these things. He's got that aura about him. Whether it's in Chaotix, whether it's in Sonic Triple Trouble, and then obviously when he's in Sonic Heroes, that's when he assumes the role of kind of the big bad in there. He's the one pulling the strings behind it all. I mean, ironically, Sonic Heroes is where Dr. Robotnik's not really in it at all, because the one that you see is Metal Sonic in disguise, and Robotnik's been stuck in prison somewhere. And then obviously he gets all the Chaos Emeralds, turns into Metal Overlord and Metal Madness, and that's it. But he's been in so many games since. But yeah, I think, even though he's kind of almost a sub-villain in the Sonic universe, I think that he's still one of the greatest villains that there are. And then you've got his depictions in all the other movie. You've got the Sonic OVA, where he's great in that. And of course, Sonic the comic is absolutely
anything with
my
metallics in was just an instant highlight.
Yeah, and of course they are the big bad in that, aren't they? I mean, they obviously Dr. Robotnik's it's when he rules Mobius, but yeah, when
Ruled by Robotnik.
Yeah, ruled by Robotnik, but you got the Brotherhood of Metallics that rewrite history, take over the Miracle Planet, revert Dr. Robotnik back to Kintabor and all that sort of stuff. Then you got
Turn
that scene
Porky
with
Lewis into a Metallics as
turn,
well,
yeah, kidnap
or
Porky
make
Lewis,
it
turn him
make a
into
Metallics of him. But yeah,
yeah. Uh, superb villain. Someone that kind of if they're able to overshadow Dr. Robotnik in some games, then yeah, Metal Sonic's definitely the one. Any thoughts on Metal Sonic, Alex?
So my main experience with Metal Sonic is playing as him in Sonic and All Star Transformed. So until I unlocked Ages, which was the kind of final one where you had like the Hornet and the F-14 from Afterburner, like Metal Sonic was like my main guy. So and I'm not mega familiar with like the Sonic games after Sonic 2, so I haven't really encountered him too much in other media. But just something about his design and Transformed, I thought, oh, I really like this guy. I'm going to stick with him. And yeah, I think just because I like robots anyway, sort of, it's like, yeah, like this guy.
Yeah, he's actually my go-to in every Sonic racing game. So Transformed and Crossworlds. Crossworlds is my main
and Sonic R.
character.
He's great in Sonic R.
He is good in Sonic R, actually. Yeah, you have to get used to the fact that there's no traction underneath him because he's flying rather than running, or
I
driving. But
completely
yeah,
forgot he was in Sonic R. Yeah.
yeah, I had a brain fart just then. I forgot that he was in Sonic R as well. But yeah, he's solid
Yeah.
in that. Martin, you must be a Metal Sonic fan.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you imagine him as in the Sega Villains DLC, they completely change it up. Instead of being a fight, it could be a race.
Yeah.
So you're doing platforming elements like the Anku Rift, but in more of a race style against him. And that would be absolutely fantastic. You imagine trying to avoid him sort of rocketing across the screen, and you could have it again in two phases. You could have the good future of Stardust Speedway for the first part, and then it segues into the bad future look of Stardust Speedway for the second part. And you're getting sort of like the music from, well, I mean, I suppose we'll throw the US soundtrack in there for the first bit, but we'll go to the much superior Japanese PAL one for the second part. But it would give both regions something on that one, and it'd just be a great way of playing that's not just a pure fight, effectively.
Lizard Cube, give this man a job. He knows what he's talking
Yeah, I'd like. Yeah, that would be amazing if you raced him and then at the end, you could fight one of his like super forms, whether it's the Chaotix, the big red Chaotix one,
Yeah,
or
Neo Metal Sonic.
or the one that kind of looks like the Chaotix one that's in Sonic Mania that has the Phantom Ruby in,
Yeah.
or Metal Overlord, Metal Madness from Sonic Heroes, and obviously later on Sonic X Shadow Generations. Yeah, that could be amazing. I think he's just such a cool character. Sonic, but he's an evil robot. What could you not like?
What more do you need? I mean,
about.
Lizard Cube.
I
If you're not doing another villains DLC, do a rivals DLC. Job done. That's another
Yeah.
£9 easy.
And that idea of like having a stage that's a race, that'd be a really excellent idea because it's something they haven't done before. It'd be quite original. So yeah, I'd love to see something like that.
And the only reason I thought of that was because I don't know if either of you guys have played The Messenger, but in the
Yes.
DLC for that, I want to say Palm Tree Panic, but that's the Sonic CD level. It's like Picnic Panic or something like that. You fight a dark version of yourself, but again, it's a race through several screens, and you've got to try and win more of them than him to get through it. And it sort of reminded me of that a little bit. And I thought, well, hang on, Metal Sonic Race, Messenger Race, ninjas, perfect, writes itself.
I've not
I've got
played
it
the DLC.
downloaded actually, but I've not given it a try yet. And I've
Oh,
also got Ninja
amazing.
Gaiden Ragebound downloaded as well, which again haven't got around to trying. They're going to have to wait until I've done Indiana Jones because I can't cope with having like multiple games on the go. I can only get like the controls for one like stuck up here before I have to move on to like something else.
Both of
Yeah,
those are brilliant. Ragebound was good. I beat that recently. I don't think it was as good as anywhere near as good as Art of Vengeance, but it was a very solid game. I think some of the bosses were a bit cheap in it, but yeah, I found Ragebound really good. But the Messenger is so good. I absolutely love that
one of
game.
the best games created in the last few years. It's absolutely phenomenal. And then
Cool.
you play Sea of Stars, the sequel, with you like RPGs, and again, it's an absolutely beautiful follow up because it is actually a prequel to the Messenger.
Oh, is it? I didn't know that.
Yeah, yeah, they're both set about 500 years apart, and some of the villains at the end of Sea of Stars crop up in the messenger, but you don't necessarily know that they are until you've completed it. So honestly, I'd recommend playing both of them back to back like I did. Absolutely phenomenal stuff, and I'm looking forward to their third game they're doing.
Right, so I'm thinking the right thing. I know Messenger is the kind of Ninja Gaiden Shinobi
Yeah,
like action
yeah, that's
game
the one
where
that
you
goes from
start off.
8-bit to 16-bit.
Yeah, you start off in 8-bit and it goes to 16-bit.
Yeah, and then Sea of
absolutely.
Stars is the sort of Chrono Trigger Super Mario RPG homage, but it's actually really, really, really good.
Oh, I might give that a try later then. But yeah, Alex, I think
Absolutely
you'll
worth
definitely
it.
enjoy the Messenger. It's a phenomenal game.
Might make that next on the list then after Indie.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you think Art of Vengeance and Ninja Gaiden are hard, yeah, the parts of the Messenger will have you tearing whatever hair you've got left out.
I don't remember maybe it's the DLC, but I don't remember the main game being that difficult.
Oh, well, I suck then. Sorry.
No. Well, I think you're better than me at a lot of these, but I don't know why I found it. I don't remember it being difficult. There was another game that I found absolutely nails. I can't remember what it was called now. I remember it was going off Game Pass in 6 days. I thought, right, 6 days, I'm going to beat this game, and I had to really, but I can't remember what it was called.
Wasn't Flea, was it? My God, that was difficult.
No, it was. Oh God, it's really going to bug me now. Oh God, it's really annoying me. Really annoying
It'll
me.
come back to it at 4 o'clock in the morning.
You'll hit stop recording and then it will come to you.
Yeah, I'll put it in the comments or something, but I'll let you two know as soon as it comes to my mind. But
did you guys ever play the modern day version of the Ninja Warriors Returns? They had to change the name over here. I think they made it like the Ninja Warriors Once Again or something like that. So it was the sequel to the old Taito Ninja Warriors game.
Wasn't it sort of like a redo of the SNES sequel?
The SNES one, yeah. So the SNES sequel, and it's excellent. It's like one of like the best games I played back of like whatever year it was it came out, because
I've only played the original Ninja Warriors, unfortunately, but both on the Mega CD and an arcade version on the Taito arcade packs. But no, I've never played the SNES one.
I'd definitely recommend checking out this new version. So I think it's like probably about 6 years or so ago that it came out. So I got it on the PS4.
I remember it coming out. I just haven't plumbed for it yet. But it's amusing you mentioned that, because I was actually listening to the Mega CD soundtrack earlier in the car.
Oh, Daddy Mold.
Yeah. Taito's and Tata sound team were absolutely phenomenal back in the 80s and 90s.
Really were.
Yeah, it's like one of my favorite like video game BGMs ever. That one.
Yeah, no, that first stage is just amazing. Like you could jam out to that, no problem.
Like, the crazy like keyboard solos in it and stuff like that. Like,
and then it just goes off on one on a shamisen for a little while. You're like, what the heck is this? It's brilliant, absolutely brilliant.
So I think we're coming up to the 2 hour mark now. So we've been around 3 times. We've got nine villains that we've stuck in our villain hall of fame, as it were. So open up to the floor, guys. Do you got any more that you want to shout out off the top of your head?
Apart from old Bernie, who we talked about, is definitely the villain. There was a Black Knight guy I quite liked in Guardian Heroes. I think he was called Valgar. And,
that's right, yeah.
Yeah, for some reason he had quite an interesting design. So he kind of looked like he was wearing jeans, but he had like some big like black armor bit. And like I think I heard that originally he was supposed to be like a protagonist in the game, but then they decided to make him a villain. And I think the only time you could actually play him was once you'd started to like unlock the arena mode and stuff like that. But
that's right. Yeah.
For some reason, I always thought he was a really cool character, and he had like a bit of cool music that came on like every time you fought him. And again, that was another game with like branching paths. So in like some of them, I think he gets like a bit of a redemption arc and becomes like a good guy. And I thought again, just a like interesting character.
He's a great character, yeah. So, and he's either still the villain at the end of a game, or he can redeem himself. I love Guardian Heroes so much. I love that game. So absolutely love that game to bits. It's like, the amount of different endings and stuff. It's like in this ending you fight a robot. At this ending you fight a god, and it's like,
well, it's almost like Dark Savior, isn't it? Different, really.
Yeah.
So, do different things.
Stupidly, I sold my copy of it about 20 years ago, and if I'd kept hold of it now, you could add probably like 2 extra zeros onto the end of the price I sold it for.
I actually got mine relatively cheap a few years ago. It was maybe about like
PAL version,
60 quid. Yeah, PAL version, 60 quid. I got it at my local Swindon.
That
That's
is
not too
interesting,
bad.
actually, because I've seen it going for more like about sort of like 300, like on eBay. Maybe I'm
I can't
looking in the wrong places.
can't see if it's there or not. No, it looks like it's behind, so it'd be too much effort to get it out. But I found Dark Savior though.
Oh,
Yeah, my Dark Savior's down here. I'm not going to pull. I was going to say my Guardian Heroes case is
There we go.
absolutely battered.
In a plastic case as well to keep it pristine, but I do get it out to play it.
very,
Yeah,
very nice.
I should do that to mine because I was going to pull my Guardian Heroes box out just to show how absolutely battered it is. Because
Oh,
my friends and I used to get the multi taps out and used to rinse the 6-player battle mode on there all the time. It was
Yeah.
a firm
you don't
favourite
you
of
don't want to
ours.
see my copy of Virtua Cop 2. When I got it from eBay, it was just like brown across the top. It's falling apart. It looks awful.
There's another villain who I don't know if you technically would sort of come under the category of Sega villains, but like the first time I encountered him was on the Saturn, and this was someone I know you've got a bit of recent history with, Dan, which is Magneto in X-Men: Children of the Atom. It's just the most impossible like fighting game boss I've ever fought against, and like I mean I've never really played any of the SNK games, so I don't know if he's like a pushover compared to those, but like in the Mega Drive days, I managed to finish Special Champion Edition on like the hardest difficulty without losing a single continue. I lost only one round, and I managed to get like the special ending at the end of that. X-Men: Children of the Atom on the easiest star, like I just had times I would get stuck in Magneto for an hour, and we just had to give up. He like reads your inputs. He's got like a super bar that continually fills up. He's got special moves that home in on you, special moves that you can't block. And it's like this guy just like isn't fun to fight against. Did you manage to beat him in the end, or did you give up?
No, I turned it off in disgust. I was so angry with him. I was just like, he's he's an absolute prick in every single sense. He does he throws those magnetic waves at you from a distance, and if you don't move, he just spams them at you, and he can spam them at you as long as you stand there or try and
Yeah,
block them. You got to try and move forward or try and jump over him. But like, if you get block stunned, you're basically at his mercy. He reads your inputs. And it's just like, he's the worst. Like, I know I've beaten all the King of Fighters games. He's worse than all of them. He's worse than Rugal from not King of Fighters 95. I think the only one that comes close is the boss out of King of Fighters 11. But oh god, he's atrocious. And yeah, I was playing on single star difficulty. Yeah, I was the same. I could beat back in the day. I could beat Special Champion Edition on 8 stars without losing a round and get the hidden credit sequence. And then I think I actually did beat Magneto back in the day, but this time around I was just like I just couldn't do it. It was
yeah,
just, and I cheesed my way through that game. I think that game's horrible to play on your own. I think it's
yeah.
an awful game to play
Weird.
on your own.
So like after about like the third opponent, like they all start input reading you. So like basically you the only way you can win is just by like staying in a corner, like spamming like fireballs,
Mm,
just chipping their life bar down until it sort of runs out. Because
yeah,
if you try and attack them, they'll just like like knock you out of whatever attack you're doing and just input read and block. And
yeah,
I've never come across another Capcom fighter that has got input reading as bad as that. It's just I think something's wrong with it.
yeah. I know one. It's Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo, the arcade version, the original
Oh,
arcade version.
yeah.
Ironically, the version that's an arcade run-up is infamously broken, even on 1 star. Um, it's awful, and it's the same in Hyper Fighting. Sorry, Hyper Street Fighter 2, the Anniversary Edition.
Yeah.
But I did actually beat that recently because you can choose any Street Fighter character from any point, and I chose M Bison from Champion Edition, and his Psycho Crusher is way too overpowered for everyone in that game. But that's just like the cheapest way to beat it. But yeah, X Men is the worst, I think, for
Yeah.
AI.
I only ever managed to beat it a couple of times back in the day. I think so. One of those was with Sentinel, and then I used the code to unlock Akuma in it, thinking,
Yeah,
well, Street Fighter character, maybe I'll do better with that. And like I stuck on Magneto for about 2 hours. Eventually managed to beat him with Akuma, and then he didn't even have an ending because he's a
yeah.
secret character. You just got like his usual sort of victory screen, and then that was it, game over. And I
Yeah.
was like, oh great, well that's like 2 hours of my life I'm never getting back.
Oh, I know.
I've just thought of two more villains that we could possibly consider
Go on
for
in mine.
the DLC. So first one, which I'm surprised none of us actually mentioned, is Mother Brain, and I'm not talking about the Metroid one. I'm talking about
Yeah,
the final boss from Alien Storm.
yeah.
Oh yeah,
Another iconic beat 'em up there, like just throws loads of enemies at you. So that'd be a good way of actually getting some Alien Storm
Yeah, great
enemies
shout.
in the game. And considering we spoke about it a little bit at length, Guardian Dragon from
Yeah,
Panzer Dragoons of I. That'd be a
yeah.
great little battle, that would. Especially with
yeah,
that music being remixed as well.
yeah. It's that's an amazing thing. Always reminded me a bit of the Unicron theme in a way.
Yes, it's got
Oh,
that sort of
mutual
bassy sort of
weakness,
theme, like yeah.
your dismemberment.
Yeah, that would be a great shout. You know, that'd be epic. You could although be interesting to see how Musashi would scale to the Guardian Dragon because Lundy's tiny and he's on top of the dragon.
What you
Not
do
sure
it
how-
as a segment boss fight. They did that in Odinsphere. The final boss when you've done all of the storylines is like an absolutely ginormous dragon that's not even screen filling. It's you have to move the screen around, but the head will appear at various different points around it. So you're basically fighting on the back of the dragon, and you just got to find the head to actually hurt it. So that'd be a good way of probably managing
Oh,
that.
nice.
Well, do you know as well? Like, if Lizard Cube ever did decide to do like a 2D Revenge of Shinobi in the style of Streets of Rage 4, like, how cool would it be if maybe they like crossed it with Alien Storm, and they could sort of like put in some sort of like dimensional rift, timey-wimey, mumbo-jumbo stuff to sort of explain how those two universes like collide. I mean, there's already like a little bit of crossover there because like Gilius Thunderhead appeared as a judge at the end of like Alien Storm, like kind of
Well, they had the
He
burger
did,
van, didn't they?
yes.
Yeah.
yeah,
And of course, you can imagine Musashi with the Alien Storm crew doing a little dance at the end.
yeah. So they could sort of like link all that stuff together. That would be great. I'd love to buy like a Golden Axe game, which has maybe got like some Alien Storm DLC, as long as they kind of did it right. I think that would be.
Well,
like,
even have just the Alien Storm crew as reskins of the three characters, because you got the three there, like Scooter and the other two, and then you just reskin them as Tyrus, Axe Battler, and Gilius, and then you can play the game again as the three of them, just as like a cool little costume swap.
You got to stick the Alien Burger Van in there as well from the arcade version.
Of course, of course.
I'll be doing the Futurama meme, like waving my money. Shut up.
Take my money.
Shut up and take my money. Superb. All right, guys, this is just the last couple of hours just absolutely flown by. But it's been brilliant talking to you both about the Shinobi DLC, about villains, and all this Sega goodness. It's been some brilliant tangents on these Sega games.
Did we speak much about the DLC?
We did at the beginning.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's been fantastic. So we'll just open it up to our viewers, listeners. Let us know who your favorite Sega villain is, and let us know who they are and how they'd fit into a Shinobi Villains DLC. And if you've enjoyed listening or watching to this video on YouTube, then give us a like and subscribe, as that really helps the channel. So, Alex, Martin, it's been a pleasure having you on. Alex, where can our viewers find you on YouTube?
So you can find me on YouTube just under my name, MrThunderwing. So come and check me out if you've got any interest in arcade racers, old school Sega stuff. I tend to do reviews and Let's Play stuff. So check me out. And Dan, it's been a pleasure chatting to you and Martin tonight. So thanks for having me on.
It's been a pleasure. And Martin, where can our viewers and listeners find you?
Yeah, they can find me on YouTube at the Retro Martin. Go there if you like things like challenges on the Mega Drive or learning about new Mega Drive games and things like that. And I also do quite a bit around the Mega CD as well. So yeah, loads of stuff.
Fantastic stuff. So, viewers and listeners, thank you very much for sticking around. As I say, give us a like and subscribe if you've enjoyed this content. And if you want to be extra mega, why don't you become a member from as little as 99p with a bunch of awesome perks, such as getting your name read out as a special thank you. So, big thanks to Luke Thorpe, Schnapure, Silver Spear 21, Sancho, Pablo Plays, Drycast, David Owens, Kaiju Leviathan, Tom Thumb, Greg Matthews, Rick Tullock, Peter 007, Paul, Resident SD, Craig Williamson, Ian Markowski, Stiff Peaks, and G-Man. So thank you very much to all of our members, and thanks again to Alex and Martin for joining me for this chat. It's been an absolute pleasure, gents. Until next time, we'll see you on the Sega side.
Sega.
Sega.